Okay, let's take a quick look at using the Jupiter 8 in a typical ball field example. This could be a press box system for a football or basketball or baseball or maybe a gymnasium. Also could work well in an auditorium, but here's a quick example. I have microphone 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have stereo input left and right, stereo input left and right. And then on the outputs, we have the center speaker, the left-right speakers, the fill speakers, assistive listening, and a left-right record for recording, streaming, that kind of thing. Just an example of using gating Automixer number 1 in this scenario. So let's talk outputs first. We'll go over here to the output section and we can choose between +4 or -10. We can mute and we can adjust the level on each output. As you notice, all the labeling is affected right there. So we go back to home, and let's back up one step before that. We can put in our limiter, and we can set maximum limits to protect the system. And then we have a gain block here, which typically I would leave at unity, but if we need to do a little level shading there that we're not doing in the output stage, we can do that. And if you wanted to give some master level control, you could, but I'm not a big fan of giving an end user a master level control. I think we should just control up and down the thing that needs to be turned up or down at the input level. But then before that, we actually have a compressor, so we can do a little bit of compression to limit this system, and then we have the hard limiter behind that. And before that, we have our speaker manager. So we have our multiband parametric EQ with high pass filter, low pass filter. In this case, we have a high pass filter active. We have no other EQ set in, but we can do delay, we can do a low pass filter, etc. And we can invert the polarity, and we can turn that on or off, and we can flatten. And then right before that, we even have a 15-band graphic EQ for those who want to use that. And then before that, we have our matrix, and I'll come back to the matrix in a minute. It says we're going to start from the very front. So our input section, we can set mic or line level. We can turn on and off phantom. We can invert the phase. We can set up noise tones, and we can mute, and we have an input trim in the digital world. And then we can go to our EQ, which is a parametric EQ. We can go to our expander, our dynamics section, and that can allow us to gate down and open up the microphone as needed. We can go to dynamics, and this would put a top on the volume. We can turn this into a limiter. We can turn it into a compressor, or we can have it as an automatic gain control, so it actually boosts a little and cuts a little. In this case, say the announcer microphone, we want it to stay nice and steady, so we let it rise up and come back down as we need to for the soft talker or the loud talker. And then right after that, we have our feedback suppressor that if we just have that feedback, it can get in there and take care of that, but it does it per microphone. And then I've got the feedback suppressor off on our music sources because we definitely do not want it affecting your music sources. Let's talk about the gating Automixer. You'll notice that my 4 mics are in the Automixer and the 4 stereo channels are not in the Automixer. This is also where we are controlling levels. I am giving the end user level control right at this place here, which is after the auto mixing gating circuitry, but before the mixing. So it allows us to have individual controls over the 4 mics, the 2 stereo sends, and place them in the hands of the end user. Then let's take a quick look at the matrix mixer. So in the matrix mixer, submix 1 is output number 1, and you can see I've got everything turned on to output number 1, and then all at unity level, but our stereos are turned down 6 dB, down 6 dB, down 6 dB, because we are taking a stereo signal and mixing it mono, and you always get a 6 dB buildup. And then output number 2, here's our setup, output number 3, output number 4, output number 5, output number 6, output number 7, and output number 8. In this case, they're all exactly the same. And I could actually go in, since 7 and 8 are stereo, I could go to 7 and 8 and turn down the left one and turn up the right one, so I could unlock that and let this one go all the way down and place this one at 0. And once again, I could put this at 0 unlock and turn down the left channel. And then for submix 7, do similarly. Take this one all the way down to minus 100, 0. Take this one all the way down and set that one to 0. And now I have a stereo input going to stereo recording, and then this is like a dual mono recording here for our output. And once again, that is the basic signal flow of the Jupiter. Now let's go look at controlling this with the end user. So we're going to go set up an external ARC2 wall panel. So we have an ARC2E, and I've already got this one set up to where we can edit an existing controller. So we have the one here. I'm going to go to Edit, and we have the ARC2E in the press box. Here's an example of what it would look like. I can go to Next, and I can take a look at this here and see the dials on the back match my numbers, and then I can edit my selected menu. And you'll notice that these are not lining up exactly, and that's because my Windows is set to take a look at to expand the size of screens for me automatically in the background. I could go to Windows on the display setting and change that where this will line up a little better. But anyway, there's my name, and then I can go to edit my selected menus. So number 1 is music number 1. I've set an upper limit of plus 12, a lower limit of minus 30, and my resolution is 1 dB per step as they turn it up and down. And you can see where I'm changing that is at my gating Automixer gain fader stereo 5.6. And then if I go back to look at music 2 and go next, you'll see that it's very similar. And once again, because of the settings of my Windows right now, that's not looking as pretty as it should. And I can go all the way down here, and I've got a music 1, music 2, mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, mic 4. Now, once again, because we've set automatic gain control on these, very likely they won't have to mess with these volumes. But then we have record out and broadcast out levels for the things that are leaving the press box. So I can go through in the menu brightness, and I can actually simulate this ARC. And I can come up here and I can do music up and down. I can change my source, mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, and change those up and down as we need to. So I'm simulating that ARC 2. So let's go next, and let's go back and look at one of the ARC webs. This is what they would see if they brought up on a browser on, say, their phone, and very much the same thing. I've got set up channel 1 gain, channel 2. So let's go here to our music 1, music 2, etc. We're going to hit next. There's our security. They would have to enter in user and pass and verify the password. And then I'm going to hit next, and I can launch ArcWeb so we can see it offline on our controller here, so we can see what it would look like to finish. So I'm a little outside my recording window here, and where it says finish, I can close that, and we now have a system programmed. We have our tuning. We have our ARC2 on the wall programmed. We have our ArcWeb programmed. And so now they have control, hardwired control, and they have wireless control with their phone or their tablet or their computer. So there's a quick look at using Jupiter 8 for a ball field press box or a gymnasium or an auditorium or any similar type application where you have a few mics, a couple stereo inputs, we got a few speakers output, assistive listening, and recording outputs. And I've done a few tricks with the compressor and the limiter to make those run a little bit better. So hopefully that helps a little bit and gives you a good understanding of the Jupiter 8 in these applications.